Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Life of Kaiser. And you know, we did one last week. We're doing one this week. So I'm really trying to stay on top of this kind of progress report style things, like, oh, this is what's happening here, here's what we're doing type deal. And so what has really happened? I mean, the big thing was that I finished the book, but I told you that last time. And then I was supposed to do the words for it so far. And as of this filming, school kind of got in the way. So I wasn't able to really do that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other thing. And it didn't work. Apparently my students wanted to talk to me, which is always a good thing, but it kind of interfered. We had a work day, and yet since normally what happens on a work day is that they work, I work, so that they can actually see that the things that I'm teaching is actually in fact what a professional artist would be using. And so I do my own work as well. But this time they were just looking for like life advice. You know, it was just like, oh, well, what about this? Or how do I do this with my career? And what about this? And what about that? I'm stuck here. And, you know, so it was a really cool mentorship kind of moment, which I thought was really cool. It is something that I've been really and deeply been harping on as of late, is the idea of a mentorship for when it comes to education. It's not necessarily a model that currently any kind of education system would accept, because it would be much smaller class sizes, but I really think that it would be beneficial, at least to art. But I'm pretty sure that it's with any type of major, because anyone who went to school and had some type of positive experience, they had a mentor, right? That was like, oh yeah, well, I remember teacher this or professor that. And that's because they were mentoring you, right? It seemed as though they took a special interest in you because you showed a special interest in whatever that they do. And so you were being mentored and, you know, giving a little bit more information, giving a little bit more of a push, you know, getting the insight on something where it's like, hey, I heard about this job or this internship, you should go check this out. And I really think that a mentorship program would be beneficial, right? Like, I think it would be a great idea. I would love to be able to do something like that that would, you know, sustain my family. But considering that it is like a very small thing, like the mentorship would have to be in conjunction with, you know, working either as an artist or as a teacher or whatnot, but it would be small, right? And, you know, probably no more than like 5 people, and you dedicate a lot of time to them. But when you do something like this, you can't be like, hey, it's going to be the amount of money that it would be worth, right? Because it would be quite expensive. Now, I think that if you were like Jim Lee or you know, some of these bigger people like Sean Murphy, Freddie Williams, you know, Joe Benitez, Robert Kirkman, you know, any of these people that are really up there, like in comics and stuff like that, they can charge an absorbent amount of money and people would find a way to do it. But, you know, someone at like my level couldn't charge the same amount of money, even though the information might be just as valuable, if not more valuable, right? Because you'd be in a spot to where they're like, hey, you know, this is how you can get it. With being super famous, it's different, right? Like, so, but I would really like, that's one thing that I would really like to do, to be able to sit down and be like, all right, we're coming to the studio. I'm here, you're there. We have a certain date where we all get together. We do the critique, right? It's like you put your stuff up, we critique it, and then it's like, oh, well, you need help. Here, let me show you how to do this. This is what's happening. Oh, by the way, there's a convention. Who wants to go? I'll get you guys through the door. I'll introduce you to a couple people. Here, we're gonna all learn, you know, it's like we're gonna learn something this week. Next week, someone else can pick something, you know, and you're just constantly learning from each other, seeing what everyone's doing, and you're forming this camaraderie amongst people. Like, that would be great. I firmly believe that would be something that would be awesome, but like I said, I don't think that it's something that would be sustainable unless you already have an income that sustains you, right? But I think it would be a great idea, and I'm still working on a way to try and make that happen, because I really do think that it would be a good idea. Okay, off my soapbox. What has happened? Oh, we went to Big Lick Con. It was an interesting show. It was a bit slow. They said that they had more people than they did last year on both days. So on Saturday they had more people attend than they did on both days from last year. But last year it just seemed like there was more people walking around. And I think that the celebrities this time, so they were inviting a couple of celebrities, and they got people from like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was like, whoa, okay. And they did a reunion of the original voice actors from the Ninja Turtles. With this being the 40th year anniversary, right, that was a huge thing, and their line was astronomically long. And I think that a lot of people were spending most of their time waiting in line with the Ninja Turtles, and thus you couldn't spread them out. Also, something that was interesting with Big Lick is that they still are interspersing like artist and vendor. So you'll have a vendor and then you'll have an artist, or you'll have an artist, vendor, artist. So everything is kind of mixed together. I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing, solely because depending on the vendor space, they're gonna attract all the attention, and then the people just kind of walk by. And it's something that I've noticed when I've been placed close to like the sword guy, or you know, the t-shirt guy or something like that. What you realize is that people will be there and they'll be around you, but they're spending a lot of attention on that one vendor, and then when they get their stuff, they just kind of walk off. They're not ready to like instantly look at another table and be like, ooh, I want to buy something from here. So you're kind of being overlooked just because you're not in an official artist alley, right? Because when there is an official artist alley, you just walk in. You're like, I know what I'm getting myself into when I walk into artist alley. And I think that was what was missing from Big Lick, was like a clear separation of the two. But from what I understand, talking to the showrunner, is that when they do their other show in Roanoke, that's the way the artists want it. You know, they want to be interspersed with the vendors, and it really works for them. So I don't know, different shows, different venues, they're just different. And I saw a lot of people angry, especially a lot of small artists and content creators. Like, they were very angry that they were interspersed with vendors and that it wasn't really busy and stuff like that. So, but the show itself was good. I thought it was a fun little show. My daughter, who is on her entrepreneurial trip, she's trying to do some great stuff. She's been doing these rubber band bracelets for a long time, and she really started coming to conventions to sell them last year. She did great at Big Lick last year. She did great at Big Lick this year. But like I said, she did great, but it was slow. So, you know, there are less people coming by the table, but she was selling more of her product to the fewer people. So, you know, it still worked out. She made more than she did last year, so that was great. And what I got more experience out of the convention. Like, that's what I was pulling from. I was able to start this series that I wanted to begin, which is called Real Talk, or at least that's what I'm calling it at the moment. And it's where I can go and interview some of these people that I know, or that can be introduced to from people that I know. And I'm doing like a 10-question interview, and it's like, what do you need to do in order to gain a style, right? Like, these kind of questions that are not, well, what pen did you use there? Or what about this? It's like, so when you were using, once I start actually researching who's gonna be where, I can really cater a lot of questions to the people that I'm interviewing. And it's like, well, when you did this, can you explain your process on how you did that? Or what was the thought process behind this? And I have to say, I interviewed two people. I interviewed Sarah Meyer, and she was absolutely fantastic. She is the Ninja Turtles Street Fighter artist and cover artist, absolutely fantastic. She was also my table mate, which was great. And then I also was able to interview Howard Chaykin, which, you know, 50-year veteran in the comic industry. So absolutely fantastic to be able to talk to him. And I already set up for a Louise Simonson at Baltimore Comic-Con, Louise and Walt Simonson. And, you know, I also talked to this toy designer who was in the industry for 30 years and got this bad boy right here. Look at that. Like, that's what's up. I mean, I know that it's a 3D print, but this is their prototype for the actual figure that they're working on. It's a toy and comic set, right? And I was like, this, I have to have this. And he went ahead and signed it, which was cool. Okay, so that right there really solidified the fact that I want toys. Like, I want to have a Ninja Empire toy line. I knew that from the get, but I was like, man, I really want this toy line to happen. But I actually have to email him because we weren't able to actually do the interview, but he said that he would be glad to set up a Zoom call, and so I can record it and still use the information and stuff like that, which I think is great, because I want to not just interview comic people, even though that's probably where I'll be going mostly, but if I have a toy designer that's there, I want to talk to them. If there's an art director that happens to be there, or an editor at a show that I go to, you know, people that you might not actually get interviews from, but would have very helpful information. Like, if I get a hold of a, let's say, DC comic book editor, and I can be like, so what exactly are you looking for in a portfolio, right? Like, we can give them information that's really going to be helpful. And it really pushed on the idea that with my channel, I want to be able to do education. Like, I firmly believe in education, but I want to do it in a different way. Like, I don't want to do tutorials at this point in my life, because I do tutorials every day as a teacher. And so I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to come home and then have to do. So being able to do something like these interviews and ask interesting questions that garner a whole bunch of information that's really cool that you might not have gotten anywhere else is way more interesting to me. Doing the Is It Worth It, which is just raw, honest to goodness reviews about art supplies that I find all over the place. That's an educational system that I like, that's different. So being able to do that is really fun. After Big Lit Con, I finished the book, so my streams were different, so I started doing character design, which was really fun, going back through that process, you know, from, hey, I have this character that I'm redesigning, and then it's like, I like it this way, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to try that. And I had this kind of robot warrior character that was back in college, and I'm redesigning these three characters that I did in college, had a little story for, and yeah, they're very heavily influenced by Joe Benitez's Weapon Zero, and I can see it in the non-functionality of how I put design stuffs together. So I wanted to redesign it, and the first person that I put together looks completely different, right? Like, I've given him a different story, he looks different, and, you know, it was just like, oh, you know, one of the comments I got was, oh, you took this really cool, like, mech-ish fighter and then turned him into, like, a monk. And it's like, yep, I did. And they're like, why? It's like, because the story seems more interesting for this particular character, right? Before, they're all these, like, mech fighty people, but they didn't really have a story. It was just influenced by Weapon Zero. And now, after doing Ninja Empire and thinking about, okay, well, what kind of story can I tell? What am I trying to do? I have three people. I want to have three different type of personalities that go into it. And so really want to push on some of, you know, I just want to try something different. And I really like the way that it came out. And so I'm not done. I need to do the actual finished illustration of the character, but we're getting really close because I did some color comps and was really trying to figure out what I want the character to look like. So it's very nice to be able to get back into that and probably do that for another week or so, and then try and split up what I'm doing as far as like watercolor, world building, and then character design. And to be honest, as soon as I get my Kickstarter up and running, so that's done, and get the book lettered and all that kind of good stuff, I'm going to be starting issue 1. You know, it's like, oh, let's go ahead and get a jump on this. So even when the book is done and it gets out there to people, I'm already working on issue 1 and really trying to push forward with this series because I really want to do stuff with it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, we're just going to keep rolling with that. Just to let you know, some really cool, I've seen 3 of the alternate covers that I had asked for the Kickstarter, so that you guys can have some variety in your covers, and they look really nice. They look really nice. The one, okay, so there's one that I'll give you guys a sneak peek at. It is from, since it's already kind of been posted and people don't know about it, but it is from Dax Sung. He is an absolutely phenomenal artist. I love his watercolor stuff, and so I had to get something done by him, and this is the thing that he created, which was just mind-boggling. And then, so everyone who's been doing these alternate covers, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, you guys are drawing my character better than I am. Like, man, come on. Don't make me look bad on my own book. But I'm super excited that I get to have these really cool covers, really making me go, man, I should probably draw a cover for the book, like a new cover, which I think is going to be imperative at this point. So I'm going to actually, maybe that's what I'm going to do next week, is actually create another cover, because I was just going to reuse one of the old ones, because it's like, for me, that's the face of this book. Like, I've been using that image because I'm like, Ninja Empire's coming, Ninja Empire's coming, and it's the face of the book. But after seeing other people's stuff, I'm going to have to lean heavy into my graphic stuff, but then still at least make it a little bit more interesting than what I already have, because these covers are looking nice. So I got to make sure I have the one which is the game cover, like the select screen, which I think is important. There's a story behind that, so like having the select screen is going to be important, but then the main cover has to be something else. So we're going to have to do that. I think that's what's next. But I do have one last thing to do. I have a project that I'm doing with DCD Collects. It's absolutely fantastic idea. I love it, and so I have to get to work on that. So probably for the next episode, I'll be talking about those, because in that process and stuff like that, because it's really fun. I like it. They came to me. I'm very excited to be able to do it. So yeah, so we're gonna jump on that, and no real deadline, but I'm pretty sure they want to get it done sooner than later, and I don't want to sit on it because I'm notorious for that. Like, I just finished some Star Wars cards, and yeah, I had them for a while and they just sat there. And I really am bad when the sketch cards, because I don't know, like doing my own sketch cards, it was really fun, right? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this. This is pretty cool. But the other sketch cards, I'm like, Although DCD brings out the goodness in me, like I really want to do those. Like, these are fun. Like, let me do this. They have great project ideas, so I really like that. If you don't know about them, please go ahead and look at DCD Collects. I'll drop a link in the comment, or yeah, in the description below, and so that way you can check them out. But yeah, so that's pretty much the week. We're getting close to the end of the semester. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, that has been my week, and so hopefully you guys are doing well. Please let me know if you're doing all right, or if you want to know something about anything. And next week I'm going to be going to PlannerCon. I think there'll be an episode in between, but PlannerCon is my next convention. That is April 26th and 27th, and I'm very kind of interested in that because I have no idea. Like, I have a couple planners that I'm bringing and workbooks and stuff like that, but I have no idea about this convention, and I'm just interested. I'm like, this seems like it should be a lot of fun, so we're gonna try it out and see what happens. So thank you all very much for coming in and viewing this, kind of confessional rant about what has happened in my week. I hope that you guys have a fantastic week. And like I said, if you have any comments, any thoughts, drop it in the comments below. It'd be absolutely appreciated to have that interaction with you all. Thank you all so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.